Grab a cup of coffee and start your day with Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life. Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life features stories to inspire, motivate, and empower you. Live your best life now. Listen, learn, think, and decide. Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life. Visit cyacyl.com.
Welcome to Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life. I'm Joan Herman. Thanks for tuning in. At the young age of 19, without a map or a plan, Jake Ducey dropped out of college, left behind a drug-filled life, and went in search of deeper meaning. His quest led him on a life-changing journey that resulted in his debut book, Into the Wind, My 6-Month Journey Wandering the World for Life's Purpose. Jake's transformation from a college dropout and drug addict to an inspirational author and speaker has led him into social and environmental activism. He's raised funds to build a school and home for orphans in Guatemala, and he created the Self Reliance Institute, a nonprofit organization devoted to providing resources and opportunities to help young people become more self-reliant. Welcome, Jake. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you so much.
Jake, as I said in the introduction, your life was beginning to go down a very different path than where you've taken it. And you are really a wonderful example to us that anything is possible and change is always a possibility, no matter what we're experiencing.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Now, as I said, you were attending college and you were on a basketball scholarship, and by most people's account, it probably looked like your life was heading in the right path and you were, moving toward a promising future. But somewhere along the line, you got involved with drugs and things weren't really going the way you had hoped. How much were you using at that time? And I guess, when did you begin? How much were you using it? And was that the reason that you left school?
It wasn't the reason that I left school. I started in the 8th or 9th grade. I always succeeded in basketball, and so I determined whether I was doing good with my life dependent on how well I was doing in basketball, which was well. And so I started at a really young age. Actually, I was the kid in the class that fell asleep high on pills in the class and didn't remember anything that happened in class. So, I was drinking at least in high school, at least 2 nights a week, sometimes 3-4 nights. And I was usually taking pills at least 3 days a week, fairly often, that's for sure.
But Jake, as long as you were performing well on the court, you didn't think you had a problem.
No. One night I had a game the following day, and I actually blacked out drunk and scored 30 points the next day, and so I thought I was doing well.
All right, so when did you finally realize that this was starting to take hold of your life and you needed to make some changes?
Well, I think the problem often is that there's so much going on in our day-to-day lives that we actually don't ever have the time to feel how we're actually feeling. And so I was thinking my feelings. I think I'm doing well because this is happening and this is happening. And one day I was in college and I was just overwhelmed. And I just said, okay, stop. I'm going to go lie down. I'm not going to go to class right now. And I'm just going to lie down for a little bit. And I didn't have anything going on, no stimulation around me. And I just felt how bad everything was inside of me. And that was when I realized I'm actually not doing things that are inspiring me.
So you started to feel, because what you just said, that statement, that was incredibly profound. And I think that's what so many of us do. We think our feelings. We don't feel them. So we think we feel happy. We think we feel sad, but we're not really feeling them. And I think that was a really profound statement. So when you started to feel your feelings, then you realized that something was going on. So how did you go about dropping everything and going off on this journey, an unplanned journey at that?
Yeah. Well, what happened was, as soon as I realized that I wasn't feeling as well as I could be, I took it on myself to start to basically put all my time into reading self-help books. So for about 8 to 10 months, I read all day, all the time. And what the underlying message that comes up in pretty much everything that we read is anything is possible, as you said earlier. So what I came to the conclusion was, if anything is possible, I can leave school and I can write a book about what has happened and this information. And so basically what I was doing was I was relying on complete faith that what I was reading was true, that everything would actually work out. And so that's how I went around the world without the map and did that.
Jake, you were 19 when you had this realization, or were 18 when you started doing your research?
I was about 18 when I started. I left when I was 19. So, yeah.
Okay, so you gave up a basketball scholarship, you quit college, and you went in and you told your family and friends that I'm going to just travel around the world with no plan and leave everything behind. What was their reaction? When I say it that way, it sounds a little crazy, doesn't it?
Yeah. Well, it was crazy explaining it. I didn't explain it to that many people because, everyone except for my dad thought that I was crazy. Pretty much every single person. I lost every one of my friends except for one or two because everybody thought I was nuts. And I think the beautiful thing about that is so often we're determining our own value by the way that our friends perceive us or the way our friends treat us. And when everyone left, it had me look inside of myself. It had me become more self-reliant. And so I think that's the beautiful thing, and part of the process of following our heart is that we have to be independent of other people's opinions.
And we're talking about something that you did specific that I believe probably saved your life. But for people that are sitting at home saying, well, yeah, I can't quit my job and leave my kids and just go off on some journey, I want our listeners to understand that we're talking about how you did it specific to your needs, but really the lessons are going to be the same, where it's following your heart, being true to yourself, and doing what's right for you. So when you went on this journey, where did you begin, and what were some of the lessons that you learned along the way?
The main lesson that I learned was that you don't have to go around the world in order to find opportunity or happiness. It's already within ourselves. And it took me until I ended with 14-day silent meditation in Thailand. And a monk said to me, I was leaving the monastery and I had my bags. And he came up to me and I told him what I had been doing. He laughed. You traveled around the whole world, and you were looking for something in the world, and then you found it inside of yourself. And he started laughing at me. And what I realized was so profound, that we don't have to go anywhere in order to make a difference in somebody else's life. We don't have to go anywhere in order to find what it is that fulfills us. And so I began in Guatemala and was really profoundly impacted by the third world conditions there. People with absolute children that literally do not have a change of clothes. And every morning they're sitting on the curb waiting for me, smiling. And that was so profound because, happiness is not determined by the circumstances in the world. You could be waking up every day and going to some job you don't want, but that's not going to create or deny your happiness because we're the only people that can either smile or not smile for ourselves. And then I went through Australia, hitchhiked through Australia, and slept outside. And then I went to Indonesia, and I lost all my bank cards before I boarded the plane to Indonesia from Australia. However, I decided to go anyway, and a family took me in the concrete tilt-ups and cared for me, took everything for me. And then I tried to pay them back, and they said to me, we don't want your money. Life is about giving without expecting return. So one of the main lessons, besides that we don't have to go anywhere, is that I realized that life is about giving without expecting return. And so for anyone who's in a circumstance that isn't the most ideal for their heart, they can still brighten their own days and the days of other people by giving themselves, giving something to somebody else that can brighten up their life.
Jake, listening to you speak, you just sound so much wiser beyond your years. I mean, you're still a young man, and you just seem to have figured it all out. And would you recommend that people do whatever they need to try to get in touch with this inner self? How would you recommend they go about doing it?
Yeah, I think that it's unique for every individual. Somebody had asked me, how do you strengthen your heart? How do you strengthen your intuition? I said, well, you just listen to it. And, I think once we get to a certain point, I think it's usually maybe about our 20s, for some people 30s, 40s, 50s. Some people it's not, just before they pass on. But eventually, and when it starts happening, it will happen for us consistently. At the end of every year, at the end of every 365 days, we're going to wonder if we wasted those 365 days. And so for getting in touch with ourselves, it's certainly unique for every person. For some person, it might be exercising, and for some person, it might be traveling around the world. And so for me, I can't say what it is somebody should do, but what I can say is that there are certain questions that we can ask that can get us to those positions. And one of the questions I ask myself that is igniting what I'm doing over the next year is I ask myself, what would have to happen 1 year from now in order for me to look back and say it was the most successful and fulfilling year yet? What would have to happen 1 year from now in order for me to look back and say it was the most successful and fulfilling year yet? And a lot of the times when we ask ourselves, I've worked with people and they're like, I don't know the answer. I don't know the answer. And when they really sit down with it and they ask themselves a few times, the answer always presents itself, whether it's some monumental thing or whether it's something that's very simple like gardening. And we can find what steps we need to take by asking that question to ourselves, And I think that asking the right questions will always get us in the right direction.
Well, and Jake, I think what you did, you went on this life-changing journey, but really what you did was you eliminated the noise in your life. And I think that for people who can't take that type of journey, I think, as you're saying, if we eliminate as much of the noise as possible and quiet ourselves enough, we can tap into what it is that's really going on, our own intuition and our own inner wisdom that's there, but we just don't get a chance to hear it because we're so busy with everything that's going on around us. And I want to take a break at this point, Jake. We need to take a break for this week's Good Life Tips. Stay with us for information to help you make the positive life changes that we talk about on the show. When we return, I will continue my discussion with Jake Ducey. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life. I'm Joan Herman. Our guest today is Jake Ducey, author of the new book, Into the Wind, My 6-Month Journey Wandering the World for Life's Purpose. Jake, before break, we were talking about your life-changing journey and some of the lessons that you've learned. For anyone who is feeling stuck or uncertain about their life, what steps would you recommend that person can take right now to make some changes?
Do something that they're scared to do and put themselves in uncertainty. So often we limit ourselves because our mind always needs certainty. And when we can put ourselves in uncertainty, that's the only time we're growing. And immediately our life transforms when we can put ourselves into a position that we don't want to be in, whether that's asking our boss for a raise or whether that's leaving our job or whether that's talking to our partner about ways to improve our relationship. These are all things that our mind does not want to do. But when we do them, we always take an incredible leap in self-love towards ourselves.
And the interesting thing, Jake, is what you're advising is what we spend most of our entire lives avoiding.
Yeah.
Jake, you say that miracles are normal. What do you mean by that?
It's a miracle that every morning we wake up on this rock that's flying through space, this little tiny rock. Every morning we wake up and this giant gas called the sun, this giant ball of gas, brightens up the day. The sky turns blue. All the green everywhere gets life every single day, and this has been happening for however long there's been life on Earth. It's a miracle that every single day our bodies digest food for us, and we do nothing to make that happen. It's a miracle that there's energy that's pumping blood through our heart. This energy is pumping our body, and as soon as it stops, the electrocentigraphs in the hospital that are measuring our heart. When this stops, we have no more life. It's a miracle that out of the infinite vastness of space that we haven't found any other types of humanoids around. It's a miracle that we're the only life form that exists. It's a miracle that there are people such as Gandhi, such as Rosa Parks, such as MLK, that have reached billions of people around the world and completely altered the course of human history. It's a miracle that we're here, and we don't know how we're here. Through all of our scientific money into experiments and all these gadgets that we have, that we don't know why we're here or how we're here. And it's a miracle that we have the opportunity to find out why we're here as individuals.
Well, Jake, anyone who's listening to you can hear the passion and excitement in your voice. I mean, it sounds like you have found your life's calling. How does it feel to have such direction at such a young age?
Just gratitude. Just gratitude. I think clarity brings an enormous amount of gratitude and excitement. I'm really excited. I set myself to high standards, and so sometimes that can lead to disappointment. But we know that we're here for something greater, and that we're just a piece of the puzzle. And so it's just ultimate gratitude that I'm alive.
Jake, tell us about your charitable work.
Well, the main lesson and the main things that really shifted me while I was traveling was to see I didn't do any tourist stuff. Everywhere I went was, when I went to third world countries, I went into the concrete shacks. I sat on the curbs with the locals while all the other tourists walked past us. And what I realized is that until the basic human rights are equally guaranteed to all, that we're never really going to be unconditionally free. And that freedom is just a fleeting illusion that we're always going to pursue or think we have, but we're never really going to attain. And so I took it, being that we live in this Western world and there's such an abundance of resources here, I went and built a school. It's not a traditional Western school out in Guatemala where I was. They're so impoverished there that they've actually lost touch with their culture, with their Mayan heritage. And so we built a school with a shaman who so profoundly impacted my life, which is bringing the children back in touch with their roots, with their Mayan heritage, and with their spirituality and the aspects of that. And so that was really beautiful. And so my next goal is what I'm doing is I'm taking 10% profits from the royalties of my book through publisher, and I'm going to build schools around the world. I have a large vision, so my intention is that this is going to build a lot of schools. The next one I want to do is build one in Indonesia, Gili Trawangan, which is this very small island where my life was saved by locals. Everyone who lives there isn't born there. They actually are shipped there from the other islands by their families in order to work with tourists. However, most of them are so poor that they live outside and they are never able to get educated because they cannot buy textbooks.
The book is Into the Wind, My 6-Month Journey Wandering the World for Life's Purpose by Jake Ducey. If you'd like more information about Jake, you can visit his website, jakeducey.com, that's D-U-C-E-Y, jakeducey.com. Or as always, you can visit our website, cyacyl.com. That stands for Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life. While on our site, listen to past shows as podcasts, read the digital magazine, sign up for our mailing list, take part in the book club, and be sure to follow the show on Facebook and Twitter. Jake, it was my pleasure having you on the show today. You are such an inspiring young man with very noble goals, and you are living proof that anyone at any time can turn their life around, follow their dreams, and really make an impact in this world. So thank you for being here today and for being an inspiration to all of us.
Hey, thank you so much. It was an honor to be on your show.
This is Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life. I'm Joan Herman. Thanks for tuning in.